What does fair trade fashion mean to you? That's a really good question.
Yeah.
The basic components of fair trade fashion are that, or the basic tenets, I should say, are there's four different pillars. There's no exploitative labor practices, and what that means is no slave labor, no child labor, etc. Another one is you must compensate your employees fairly. So how that translates is there's government mandated minimum pay scales in all countries, including the United States, so you must adhere to that. The third one is you must have a clean and safe working environment. So that obviously means no occupational hazards, no guillotine sort of cutting machines that people can lose their fingers on, so on and so forth. And then the last one is that you must provide clean bathrooms and access to first aid. And that seems like kind of like an easy, no-brainer thing, but with a lot of production in developing nations and even in the United States, that's not always the case. Interestingly enough, last year in the United States, 97% of all of the apparel sold here was imported. Consequently, Stewart+Brown makes 93% of all of our production here in the United States. We make everything in the United States that we absolutely positively can. So kind of getting back to the fair trade question, for me, I'm a little bit older than Karen. I started working for a sportswear company in Seattle in 1991. And one of the things that was a real eye-opener for me was we did most of our production in India at the time, and we did some really fantastic pieces. And I was right out of college; it was my first job. And I remember the CEO of the company came back, and he was showing us photographs that he had taken on his recent trip to check production in India. And he was, he had all this enormous stack of color photos, and he was, laying them out on the table, and he was telling us all about it, and we were fascinated in the process. But, and he was just kind of throwing them out very, very matter-of-factly and sort of talking about them because, he had seen the site, for years and years. He was a very old-school garmento, and I was shocked and horrified because when he was showing the photos of our garments being made, there were kids, and I literally mean kids, and maybe partially it was because of malnutrition, but they look like they're 7, 8, 9 years old that were standing and working at these knitting machines. I was horrified, and these kids were the floors were dirt, the kids didn't have shoes on, they were just wearing shorts. I mean, these kids should have been in schools. They shouldn't have been making sportswear. And not only that, but there's even a photograph of like a slop bucket in the corner, and this is where everybody went to the bathroom. I mean, there was no toilet. Clearly it was and the place was cluttered. It was disgusting. And then this is a while ago, and there's a picture showing how the fabric was bleached, and they had these enormous pools of chlorinated water. And there were these old guys, and they looked old again. Maybe they weren't, but they're just standing out there in these loincloths, up to their mid thighs, in this chlorine water. And if you've ever walked into like a YMCA or some place where there's a swimming pool, and how like strong those odors are, you can imagine what it must be like when they're bleaching fabric.
And it's not diluted with water.
And it's not diluted. And these guys are just standing out there day in and day out, and they're just swirling around, all of the fabric, just to get it all white. And they're from India, so naturally they had dark skin, but they were bone white, like just their skin was completely bleached up to the waterline. So who knows how long these guys would be. How long they'd had these jobs, which you have to imagine, like, they're out there for years and years and years doing this. And I was, that to me, that was a cataclysmic moment. I mean, I was just blown away, and I was like, this can't be right. I mean, and how can my boss be so immune to this? But I didn't know a different way. I mean, and I just wasn't educated. I didn't last very long at that job. I moved on to another company after that, but that was one of the things that it just made an impression in my head that I could just never get rid of. So, clearly, that was one of the tenets of our brand when we started is, it absolutely positively has to be, everything has to be done and created to fair trade standards.
Can you talk about your choice to manufacture some of your products in China? And this comes from Jade. That's a very good question. Yes, we do. We manufacturing some of our knitwear in China. The reason being is that A, we always try to do everything in the U.S. first, and sweaters is a manufacturing feat that just isn't done in the country anymore. Our choice to go to China was because of where the fibers were coming from and where the best expertise to knit the garments. And also, we partner with agents and manufacturing in China that we have great relationships for. We don't look for the lowest price point for our sweaters. We look for people that have like-minded values to make our products. These are long-standing relationships that we've had even before we started our companies from other brands that are very reputable with sustainability as well. So they have gone through all the filters in order to be a part of making our manufacturing.
I also want to add to that, because, you know, and Jade, that is a fantastic question. We keep getting asked that more and more, and I think that, you know, that just goes to show how, you know, our customers are, you know, very, very intelligent and very, very conscientious and very concerned. But the thing that I want to say, just very, very quickly, because we have a thing to announce here, is that, you know, we never want to judge a population by their government. It's not the people's, you know, choice always what government was foisted upon them. Certainly the United States has also had some challenging governments. But China is such a behemoth in manufacturing, and if there's one place where ethical production standards should be implemented, it's definitely there. And the thing that I will say is, in China, people are being shot because they're protesting against environmental degradation, social justice infringements, et cetera, et cetera. That's not happening in the United States. So what are we supposed to do, turn our backs on these people, or are we supposed to chip in and help them and support them and lift them up? You know, we're pretty passionate about the topic because, you know, we've been supporting, and they've been supporting us, you know, for a fair amount of time, and you know, that's how you affect change, is you participate in it, and you know, that's what we do. So, with that said, it's time to kick off the $250. I almost said $250,000. That would be amazing, but it's not. It's time to kick off the $250 Stewart+Brown gift card giveaway. To enter, send one email with your name, age, and address to tomsofmainegift@gmail.com. Again, that's tomsofmainegift@gmail.com. And put Wicked Fresh in the subject line. Exclamation points would also be helpful. We will pick 2 winners at random and announce them at the end of the chat.
I think this one's for me.
I think it is too.
How do you approach durability and longevity for your pieces? Well, firstly, I wear my own clothes almost every day, so I'm wear testing them, and I'm seeing what is the best quality fabric I can do, and I learn from my own wearing, as well as I have a whole peer group that wears our clothing, and we listen to our stores, we listen to our customers, we take feedback very seriously, and we just try to develop the best product that we can.
Kind of the thing is if Karen and, you know, her peer group wouldn't wear it, we don't produce it.
Oh, this one's for me too. What's one thing you've wanted to offer, but for ethical reasons could not source or manufacture? To date, polyester is a good example of that because of the petrochemicals involved. We've always wanted to also offer our customers a more rounded outerwear collection, and we know that polyester has a lot of those attributes that would be natural wicking and water repellency. But to date, even the recycling aspect of polyester has issues. That being, it takes a tremendous amount of energy to make that into fiber again, almost more than taking virgin polyester unfortunately, and making that into garments. So until we can find a good, sustainable, efficient way to change that polyester back into usable fiber, we're staying away from it.
What's the best part about what you do? I'll take the first stab at that. It's satisfaction. I mentioned earlier that, you know, with Stewart+Brown, from a personal standpoint, to Karen and myself, it's really a collision of passion and purpose. And we, you know, have worked for been lucky enough to work for some really, really wonderful companies in our career. And, you know, we certainly, you know, don't take that for granted. And, you know, any job we've ever worked at, we've made sure that you know, that we were passionate about the products that we were working on, and that's certainly the case with Stewart+Brown. So it's definitely, you know, the fact that we feel like, you know, we're part of the solution and not part of the problem, and, you know, there's a reason for what we're doing, and we're, you know, pioneers in what we were doing, and you know, we went out there, you know, pretty boldly and made a pretty risky decision to basically put our life savings into this vision that we had, you know, which is really putting your money where your mouth is and exposing yourself to failure, which is a big challenge. So to be successful with that, and to see, you know, like, even just that people even care, or they want to hear our story and wear our products, I mean, that's the best. I mean, that's better than money. You know, that's.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I also think that it's something that I wasn't aware that would happen, but it gave us kind of a platform to have a voice, you know, because we realized, like, getting into this industry as being sustainable, people wanted to know more aspects about our lives and our decision making that was outside of the clothing world. So that was a great surprise to us as well, to have that platform.
I wasn't surprised.
We should have clued me in.
Yeah. Okay, this question comes from M. Rose 91. I don't think 91 is part of her name. But the question is, how early do you start working on new collections? It's a great question.
Yeah. We work about a year out on actual silhouettes, but we're always working on new fibers. That could be 2 to 3 years out, and then until we can get it to where our liking is, we don't bring it to the market. So it's really a time frame that kind of overlaps different seasons, depending on how long it takes to bring it to the market.
What kind of feedback do you get from customers? Well, in this day and age, you get a lot of feedback from customers. That's what it's all about. Again, I think we're pretty lucky, because I'd say 99.99% of the feedback we get is positive or constructive. Mm-hmm. In all honesty, I read every single email and I read every single Facebook posting. And I think I'm not just making this up, but in 8 years, I've maybe had 3 negative things sent my way. So we must be doing something right. And that's not to say that we're perfect. So the feedback is generally positive. You know, it's a lot of you know, people just saying, you know, thanks for caring, and thanks for making organic, sustainable stuff that doesn't look frumpy, or, you know, basically to deliver on that confidence mission that we have. And we also get, you know, really good ideas from our customers. We're currently showing the spring 2011 collection in New York City. And you know, I got off the phone a little while ago with our rep, and normally we would be out in New York, you know, face to face with our customers. This is actually the first time that we've never gone. It's hard to believe. And the feedback was phenomenal. Like, one of the things is, you know, can you please do extra large? Because we don't do extra large, we do extra small to large. And 6 years ago, when we were a lot smaller, we actually did have extra large, but we didn't have extra small, and we ended up, maybe it was because, you know, at that particular time in fashion, things were a lot more fitted, and, you know, people were wearing things a lot shorter and a lot closer to the body. But, you know, they don't call it fashion because things are constantly staying the same. They call it fashion because things are constantly changing. But there's definitely demand, and you know, we're gonna do it because, you know, if you're smart, the way you stay in business is you provide what your customers want, and if you don't, then you don't have a business, nor a reason for existence. So yeah, that's